Is WWE ending the brand split? Plus, we're going to be talking about some great news for AEW on Max, and we have a major character update. It's all coming up right here on the Ango Show. Yes. All right, guys, I want to kick things off with Bron Breakker. I find this to be quite fascinating. I think a lot of people are going to like this news because it's not very often that we get this in professional wrestling. But today it's been revealed by WrestleVotes Radio on Sportskeeda's Backstage Pass Patreon. Bron Breakker will be more of a tweener moving forward as he climbs the ranks of WWE. So that means one day he might be a good guy. The next day he might be a little bit more leaning towards the villainous heel role. I think this is exactly what should be done for Bron Breakker. I've actually pitched this on the live stream a couple months ago. With Bron Breakker, I think it's really cool to have a character who is dominant like him, that, you know, sometimes he might be more of a good guy, the other times he might be more of a bad guy. We don't actually see this that often in professional wrestling anymore, but I think tweeners add a lot of unpredictability. I think they make it a little bit more fun for storytelling, especially at a time where WWE is a little bit more predictable with their storytelling. I think having Bron Breakker as a tweener could make for some really good content. I think WWE could have a couple challenges with this, so I look forward to seeing how they actually position this. But for the development of Bron Breakker's character, this is actually really good. Bron Breakker is a guy who gets great reactions. The fans do like him. But of course, when you're being a heel and a babyface at the same time, I think it creates a little bit of a different feel to what you're watching, because one day you might be really happy with Bron Breakker and the next minute you might not really be happy with him at all. So I do think it creates a lot of intrigue. Joey Votes stated, another thing that we're hearing is some interesting character development notes, as a source within creative has told us the plan for Bron Breakker going forward is to remain somewhat neutral. As far as heel and babyface tendencies go, there seems to be a plan in place where in the ring Breakker can portray the heelish side, but as a promo can lean into the crowd as more of a babyface with his signature dog bark, and that leads to obviously heavy crowd participation. Breakker, who has spent time as both a traditional heel and face in his short career, gets the chance to play the bit of a tweener character as he ascends up the ladder. I think that's cool. I genuinely think that's cool. And I think that's just such a great position for Bron Breakker to be in, because, you know, in NXT, he was a great babyface, but at some point it did feel like a little too much. Then he became a heel, and it kind of seemed like that was going on for a little too long. So this situation kind of allows him to be fresh in the sense that it's not going to be like this forced down babyface that we got with Roman Reigns. And that's one of the reasons why I'm excited about it. All right, guys, let's talk about AEW on Max. Tony Khan is doing the media call for Full Gear. Really good stuff there. But one of the things I've really enjoyed hearing about was the ability to do streaming and pay-per-views and kind of having a little bit more flexibility of that. So for those who don't know, one of the big things here is with AEW, they're doing AEW Grand Slam Australia. And nobody really knows if it's a pay-per-view or if it's a streaming event or whatever it may be. Basically, Tony Khan is saying that the new media deal allows streaming specials, which could obviously be an opportunity for them. Now, you know, as somebody who really enjoys the idea of wrestling being on streaming platforms, this is one of those things that I actually really like, because let's say, for example, AEW is selling pay-per-views, and we'll say a discounted rate up to $20. I don't know what the actual number will be, but let's just say, for an example, $20. Well, maybe you throw in a couple free streamed events where you just have to have the subscription and you don't have to pay the $20. That might make me a little bit more intrigued to sign up for the service. Now, me personally, I already have the Max streaming service. So when I say this, I'm talking more for the people that don't actually sign up for Max. But if you're sprinkling in a couple free events throughout the year for wrestling fans, I think that's very intriguing. And that's enough for me to sign up for the Max streaming service. I genuinely believe that. I also think it's really cool to have that flexibility with your TV partner that, hey, we might not have to charge for every premium event that we do. And I think that could be a really good thing for AEW, because you got to find the sweet spot. And we don't really know too much about the pricing details, but I think with HBO Max or Max streaming service, whatever you want to call it, I think one of the things that's cool about this is like, okay, you get the tape library, you get the simulcast, which is huge. Like the simulcast is a really big deal. So that's already a lot of value there. You get tape library, you get the simulcast, but then you open up the door to have access to different movies and different sports that are also on the Max streaming service. That's a huge win. Now, if you're sprinkling in a couple special events where you don't actually have to pay for them, that just seems like a really good bang for your buck type thing. And I love that kind of situation. I think it makes the streaming deal even much better. Even if they're charging for certain pay-per-views, if they have other events that are free, that is really good. And, you know, it could work out really well with All In and All Out being so close to each other in time. Maybe it's worth it where you say, hey, we'll give you one for free. You know, we'll see how it works out. We'll see how AEW gets paid out from these pay-per-view events. But I do like some of the news that we're already hearing. It's just a really good thing to see that WWE and AEW kind of found a sweet spot within the world of streaming. Just very cool to see how that evolves throughout time. Let's talk about the brand split. WWE has not made a decision on ending the brand split, but what is really interesting is on WrestleVotes Radio, they did reveal that Roman Reigns will be on Raw more than he is now come early next year due to the star power that he could provide for WWE Raw, which will be the A show on Netflix. So WWE Raw going into Netflix, it's the bigger TV deal. WWE Raw is going to be treated as the A show. There are plans for Roman Reigns to be working a lot of episodes of Raw. Now, this is where things get really interesting because WWE has not confirmed whether or not there is going to be a brand split. But obviously, by having Raw talent work SmackDown, SmackDown talent working Raw, if this is what they're doing and they're going to be extremely lenient on the brand split, you might as well just get rid of the brand split. Now, this is where I typically become controversial. I don't know why this is such a controversial thing to say, but I believe the brand split should remain. So what I would do if I were WWE and you want to switch it up, go back to the draft and let's get some NXT call-ups. Let's get these rosters freshened up. Let's shake things up a little bit, but keep the brand split. I don't want to see a situation where the brand split is thrown out logically just because you have Roman Reigns working Raw sometimes. You know, even if he's set to remain as a member of SmackDown, the more that he's working Raw, the more it doesn't make sense for him to be doing so because there is a current brand split. So I genuinely believe, and I said this before in a live stream, I genuinely believe because of Netflix, because of USA Network, I see WWE going away from the brand split. I genuinely do believe that. They're already indicating that these rosters and certain talents are just going to be working both shows more. I just think it doesn't make sense to keep the brand split if that's the case. It just throws out all the logic. So therefore, we will have to see what happens. But that's why there's a question mark in this title because none of us really know. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the Ango Show.